Let's do this multiple choice question. What is the range of f of x equal to arc sine of x? When we're talking about arc functions, we have to always remember what trig functions they're coming from. For example, for arc sine, we have to look at the y equal to sine of x, and that one looks like this, and it's repeating. For arc cosine, we have to look at y equal to cosine of x, and repeating. For arc tan, we have to look at. Now, what are we looking at? We're looking at a piece of sine of x that is 1 to 1. And I like to have basically a piece that contains all the output of arc sine. And this is the piece where you have all the other values on the other sides of y equal to 0 of the function. So I'm only restricting the domain of y equal to sine of x to over here is negative pi half, and over here is pi half, basically, to get a 1 to 1. Now it's 1 to 1 with restricted domain. Now I can make this invertible and define arc sine on it. And so the domain here, this is the domain, restricted to negative pi half and pi half. That means that the range of arc sine, as in they are inverse of each other, is going to be negative pi half and pi half. Now, if this question was about arc cosine, for a range of arc cosine, restrict the domain of cosine. Again, you want a piece of cosine that contains all the output values of cosine, and the value 0 is kind of in the middle of the piece, and basically that piece is 1 to 1. So I know this is a value 0 I'm interested in, and here it starts at 1, goes through there, and ends up here. So this seems like from 0 to pi. So if I restrict the domain of cosine to 0 to pi, then it's invertible, and that would be the range of arc cosine, basically. So domain of cosine, range of arc cosine, restriction to the domain of arc cosine, range of arc cosine. Now, what I want to do is for arc tan also, in case you see arc tan. For range of arc tan, restrict the domain of tan. And how do I do it? Again, I want all the values, and I want the 0. Oh, my picture over here wasn't very nice. Let's try it one more time. It's supposed to go through 0 right at the x equal to 0. So I see that the domain, again, my picture is not very accurate, and you don't have to draw very accurate pictures when you're trying to find these. I see a 0 right over here, y value equal to 0. I see that the y values can go to infinity and negative infinity, and I want one piece. If I take anything from the other pieces, it's going to be it's not going to be 1 to 1. And you have to remember this is pi half and negative pi half. The only difference in here is that pi half and negative pi half is not included in the domain of tan to begin with. So the answer is parentheses negative pi half to pi half.